So I just got 5 new gameplay details from the day before that have me pretty hyped up for the December 7th launch now. So I wanted to show you guys this new info and kind of break it all down to show you what these things may mean. Because if you thought the information was going to be crystal clear and concise coming from these guys, leaving us no room to guess as to what the hell it is they're talking about, then you haven't been following the development of the day before. From the countless delays, random trailers of driving sports cars through the city, to a pointless hot tub scene, looking like it's straight out of Borat.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh la la. Oh, whoa. King in the castle, king in the castle.
Unless you were high out of your mind on copium, you've likely already ruled out the day before as being a legitimate game that even if it did launch, would play and look like it does in the trailers. At least that's where I was until they sent out Steam keys to notable creators a few days ago. Now, I feel like I'm much more intrigued as to how this is all going to unfold on the 7th. So here's what we got. One of their alleged volunteers, because the day before Team Fntastic has no paid employees, only volunteers, hopped onto the game's Facebook page of all places and said, "We are near the release date of the game. So I was wondering if you have any questions about the game that I can answer. Tell me everything under this post and I'll try to answer everything." Thankfully, this game has some fans over the age of 45 that still use Facebook to ask some pretty solid questions. First up, we have the topic of base building. Michael Lee asks, can you build bases like in DayZ, or is it like The Division, where you have a home base? Nathan Heath, whose name we see quite a bit in these comments, answers, it's more like Vigor, where you have a dilapidated cabin and you can fix it up, put stuff in it, plant pots in the front for resources and things like that. It's more like Vigor. But Bastion, the volunteer from the day before, answers, it's not like Vigor. The day before is not an extraction game and the world is persistent, which means you can stay a whole day inside without chrono or timer to ask you to leave. So first of all, if you're not aware, Vigor is an extraction shooter that's available on PC as well as consoles. And side note, a console release for the day before actually gets brought up in the comments, so we'll talk about that more in a second. But in extraction games like Vigor, you have 2 separate instances. You have a base of operations or some type of menu system like Tarkov, where you can accept quests, buy and sell items to traders, and upgrade your character in various ways. Then you have the actual map, which you drop into for sessions, usually with a timer, requiring you to loot as much as possible without dying, and then make it to an extraction point before that timer hits 0. And the day before, he's saying the whole map is persistent. There are no sessions that you drop into to actually get into the map. Your base or safe zone, where you're going to meet quest givers, make upgrades, and from the gameplay that we've seen, buy food and healing items, or work out to likely improve your character's stamina skill, will all be located within the same instance on the playable map, where you'll loot and fight other players. This is further expanded upon with the next question from Pranesh PM. Is there any clans? Bastion says the Woodbury Society will be your clan. You can form up a squad with your friends up to 4 to play with. Also, please understand that raiding is not a mechanic implemented in the day before. You will not be able to attack the squad ranch, for example. So Woodbury is likely a safe zone location, where once you cross its threshold, there's probably some kind of border that prevents PvP. The best example that I can think of to explain this is Scum, another open world zombie survival game. There's basically an invisible force field surrounding the safe zones that once it's crossed, you can't engage in combat on the other side, giving players the chance to trade, turn in quests, and take a breather in peace. But unlike Scum, as well as DayZ and Rust, you will not have the ability to build your own base out in the world that other players can raid and steal your stuff, which really isn't a terrible thing. I mean, open world survival games have kind of been all using the same base building features for years, and while most of these games have had cities on their maps, none of them, as far as I know, have anything close to the scale of New York City. I honestly welcome a new game to this genre where the aesthetics of the map aren't ruined by random player-built bases that seems so out of place in a realistic post-apocalyptic scenario, especially when the backdrop is New York City. Which brings us to the next topic discussed, exploration. Daniel Brown asks, is there only a city to explore or landscapes like in the first trailer? The volunteer answers, you'll be able to explore the main city, the colony, the ranch, but you are right, also the countryside. And believe me, there is always something to do in the beautiful landscape of the map's countryside. So a couple things here. The colony and the ranch may be 2 separate locations. The colony being where you interact with all the NPCs, turn in your quests and trade items, all that stuff. And the ranch being where your squad can spawn in and load into the game and gather. That functions as like a player hub where you store your items, make applicable upgrades like planting the crops as mentioned before, and do all of your character customization. If this is the case, that means there's going to be 2 safe zones located somewhere on the map, one for the colony and then one for your squad's ranch. But my biggest question for these would be PvP pursuits. Like, let's say you're being chased by another squad and you're outgunned, so you decide it'd be better to run back to your colony or the ranch. Do you actually have the ability to evade combat by just running through the threshold of the safe zone? And could a squad on your server just camp the entrances to a safe zone to wait for unsuspecting victims to pop out on the other side? Because that's what a persistent world looks like to me. If there's a loading screen in between the transition of the safe zone to the main map, and maybe once you exit a safe zone, you're spawned into a random nearby location, then I don't see this being as much of a problem, but that also wouldn't be a persistent map. That I think is going to be one of the main things I'm going to be looking for when streaming this game for the first time. Now, we've already talked about squads a bit, but here's what Bastion had to say about how they're going to work. Pranesh PM asks, is it like a group of 15 or 20 players going to join together to form a society or clan or house or something, attack other ones maybe? No, you will be able to play solo, duo, trio, and squad with maximum of 4 players in your squad. You will receive a ranch for you and your squad that will become your safe zone. Nobody can attack it. So the squad limit is going to be 4 players, but it begs the question of how servers are going to work. Are they automatically selected for you at the start of every session, and the game director tries to pop you and your squad into servers that have comparable group sizes? Or will it function like almost all of the other open world survival games, where from the menu screen, you select a specific server that shows its population, maybe its variable rules that are selected by the server admin? I don't know. Personally, I would prefer the latter. Isaac Weaver then asks, how many players will be in a single session? Player cap more specifically. Bastion says that he's not allowed to share any information about the servers. This is under NDA, which is surprising based off of everything that he said so far. However, we have currently found a good balance between players and lagging that provides a player a good game feeling. With the early access, we're going to watch everything, stress test everything, and increase or decrease our cap. So I'm guessing that he doesn't give a specific answer because the devs literally don't know yet. Once potentially millions of players hop into these servers at early access, they'll be able to get an idea of what their servers are able to hold without it being unplayable. Also, while on the topic of squatting, I'd like to know if you can add random players to the group out in the open world. If not, pretty much every player you're going to run into is kill on sight, which now brings us to the topic of permadeath. What happens in the day before when you die? Jeff Watson asks, permadeath like DayZ or save point style? To which Bastion responds, permadeath is most likely what will happen if no changes are made. I think it's a little late for possible changes to be made, unless he's talking about during the early access stage. I'm also not sure if his version of permadeath is the same as my version of permadeath. From my perspective, this means when you die, and let's say for the sake of argument, your whole squad dies too, that everything wipes. Permadeath means that you lose that character permanently. So any skills that you have leveled up, all the loot and gear that you have stored is gone, everything, and you have to start over with a new character. But I highly doubt this is what he actually means. More comparable to an extraction shooter than an open world survival game, I think it's more likely that he means you don't respawn if you're killed out in the open world. So everything that you had on you when you died is gone. I doubt that you lose all your skills and loot or upgrades that you've made at your ranch. Though if it was up to me, which it's not because I'm a YouTuber, not a developer, I would meet somewhere in the middle. Have it in place where when you die, you do lose the character. You don't lose your ranch, all the upgrades that you've made to it and any loot that you have stored there. But your character with the loot that you have on you and all the skills that you leveled up are gone. From all the games that I played like this, it just adds to the replayability. If you never lose any of those things, once you hit max level and your skills are all leveled, you hit a wall, resulting in you having zero concern for questing, looting, and any other aspect of the game other than PvP. So you get a bunch of no-life gigachads, only focused on hunting other players while they try completing their tasks, putting the majority of players, the casual player, at a massive disadvantage. Look, there's nothing wrong with PvP, and in a game like this, you should be expecting it. If you want PvE, play Minecraft. But once a player has nothing to lose and nothing to gain, there's nothing else to do besides PvP. And if you want nothing but PvP, play Warzone. I think I can speak for most of us when I say within this genre, we're playing for a healthy mix of both. That makes questing and looting engaging and stressful because you could lose it all so quickly. It makes every combat encounter so much more intense. Hopefully the Day Before team fully understands that factor and have implemented game mechanics that consider it. Now, another thing that was brought up by Dustin Reach is when coming to console, a question format that I really like because it fits within an old adage from the brilliant philosopher Kevin Malone.
I waste time, say lot word when few word do trick.
But Bastion responds with, we are focused on the Steam version for now, but have a team on the console version. We will release the console version when early access will be finished. We are expecting less than 1 year. So as per the volunteer, less than 1 year, console players will be able to get their hands on the Day Before. But I need to be very very clear. I wouldn't hold your breath. When someone from this team says they are expecting to release something in a reasonable time frame, like less than a year, their track record has been booty, straight up booty with timely releases. The game itself is delayed multiple times and is years from its original expectation. So console players, if you even get the day before, I would expect it to be at least 2 years. And if I'm wrong, sweet, I hope I am. But the truth is, not just for console players, but for any of you that are looking forward to the day before, we still haven't played the game yet. Between today and the 7th, we could easily get another delay. Though with the content creator keys being sent out for the first time they've ever done that, I find it launching much more likely this time around. But what we're gonna see when it does, don't know. If you follow this game's development, anything is possible at this point. So you are going to see me closely following the day before on this channel for the next few days, because I only see this going one of two ways. Didn't mean to make that rhyme. Either this is going to be the best open world game that we've seen in years, blowing all the others out of the water, or it is going to be the most disastrous game launch ever. Either way, it's gonna be fireworks, baby. So come watch with me. The next day before video is gonna be right here once I have it uploaded, and I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Okay, you want to do some prolonged eye contact?